For over 7 decades, the North Atlantic Treaty Organization has been the bedrock of Western security. But today, that foundation is shaking. The full-scale invasion of Ukraine was a wake-up call, yet experts warn it is merely a symptom of a much larger, systemic crisis. We are witnessing a shift from the post-Cold War peace to a new era of active deterrence. This isn't just about borders, it's about the survival of a global order that has existed for 75 years. As NATO adapts, the risks of miscalculation have never been higher. Today, we analyze why the Russia-Ukraine war is just the beginning of a much deeper conflict between the West and a new axis of adversaries. Russia has fundamentally pivoted its society toward a permanent war economy. This is no longer a localized operation in Donbass, it is a total state mobilization. The Kremlin has surged its defense spending to a staggering 6% of its GDP, a level not seen since the height of the Soviet Union. Their goal is clear: a 1.5 million strong active personnel force. Factories are running 24/7 to produce 3 million artillery shells annually, outstripping the current combined production of the West. This industrial surge suggests Russia is preparing for a multi-year, high-intensity conflict that extends far beyond the borders of Ukraine. Strategic planners are most concerned about a 60-mile strip of land known as the Suwalki Gap. This corridor, running along the Polish-Lithuanian border, is the only land link between NATO's Baltic members and the rest of the alliance. If Russia were to seize this gap from its territory in Belarus or the heavily militarized exclave of Kaliningrad, the Baltic states would be effectively cut off. This Achilles heel represents the most dangerous flashpoint for a direct NATO-Russia confrontation, making the vulnerability of the Baltic states a top priority for military exercises in the region. The threat isn't just kinetic, it's digital. NATO allies have reported a 100% increase in significant cyber attacks targeting critical infrastructure over the last 2 years. From energy grids to banking systems, the front line is now in the silicon. On the physical battlefield, the integration of Starlink and low-cost drones has revolutionized combat, making traditional heavy armor more vulnerable than ever. NATO is now racing to implement AI-driven battlefield management systems to process data faster than the enemy, turning the war into a race for technological superiority, where code is as lethal as lead. NATO's greatest threat might come from within. For years, the United States has shouldered the lion's share of the burden, with the defense budget topping $860 billion. While the 2% GDP spending target was set a decade ago, only 18 of the 31 members are currently meeting that goal. This disparity has fueled political friction, with questions arising about the reliability of the U.S. security umbrella. If European nations do not rapidly scale their own industrial bases, the alliance risks a decoupling that could embolden adversaries who perceive a lack of unified resolve and shared sacrifice. The crisis is no longer contained to Europe. China and Russia have declared a no-limits partnership, creating a dual-front challenge for NATO. We've seen joint naval drills in the Baltic Sea and the Mediterranean, a clear signal that Beijing is willing to project power alongside Moscow. Furthermore, the transfer of dual-use technology, chips and machinery that can be used for both civilian and military purposes, is sustaining the Russian war effort despite Western sanctions. This partnership forces NATO to look east, acknowledging that security in the Atlantic is now inextricably linked to stability in the Indo-Pacific. As the polar ice caps melt, the Arctic is becoming the next great theater of competition. Russia has reactivated over 50 Arctic military bases, positioning itself to control the Northern Sea route. This isn't just about military positioning. The region holds an estimated 13% of the world's undiscovered oil and vast mineral wealth. NATO, which now includes new Arctic members like Finland and Sweden, must find a way to counter this cold front. The possibility of a conflict starting in the high north over resources or transit rights is moving from a theoretical exercise to a daily operational reality. Warfare today often happens in the gray zone, below the threshold of open conflict. The sabotage of the Nord Stream 1 and 2 pipelines proved how vulnerable Europe's energy infrastructure really is. Beyond energy, the world's financial and internet systems rely on undersea data cables that are poorly protected. We are also seeing widespread GPS jamming in Eastern Europe, affecting civilian aviation and maritime shipping. These hybrid tactics are designed to exhaust Western societies, creating a sense of insecurity and chaos without ever firing a traditional shot, making resilience the new watchword for NATO planners. In response to these multidimensional threats, NATO has overhauled its strategic concept. The alliance is moving toward a model of deterrence by denial. This includes the transition of 300,000 troops to a high readiness state, capable of deploying within days rather than months. The inclusion of Finland and Sweden has turned the Baltic Sea into a NATO lake, but it also adds thousands of miles of border to defend. The shift is towards a permanent presence in the east, with multinational battle groups ready to fight from the first inch of Allied territory, rather than ceding land and attempting to liberate it later. The Russia-Ukraine war has ended the illusion of a peace dividend in Europe. The real threat is not just a single aggressor, but a period of prolonged global instability where technology, economics, and traditional military power collide. To survive, NATO must evolve beyond a simple military alliance into a holistic security framework. This means integrated missile defense systems across the continent and strengthening societal resilience against disinformation. The road ahead is long and expensive, but the cost of failure, a breakdown of the collective security that has prevented a third world war, is far higher. The crisis is here. The question is, are we ready?